Welcome back in that Sean podcast. We are continuing our draft review series, and this time we're rolling out that NFC West. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
Continuing, we're wrapping this up. We have two divisions left to cover, one of which is the NFC West. We're almost done with this.
Hey, one is not mutually exclusive with the other.
True.
Anyways, as we like to do, we're just going to jump right into it. So, we will start with the Seattle Seahawks draft. And Seattle started off strong, going with Charles Cross, offensive tackle, Mississippi State at number 9. Then in the second round, at pick number 40, they took Boye Mafe, edge rusher out of Minnesota. One pick later, they went and got running back Kenneth Walker III out of Michigan State. Then jump to the third round. They got Abraham Lucas, offensive tackle out of Washington State. Then we have to jump to the fourth round. Pick number 109, they got Kobe Bryant. No, not the great late basketball player, even though this kid's gonna wear his number. But it's Kobe Bryant, cornerback out of Cincinnati. Go to the fifth round, pick 153, Tariq Woolen, cornerback out of Texas San Antonio. Then at 158, Tyreke Smith, edge out of Ohio State. Finally, in the seventh round, they just skipped over that sixth round altogether. They at 229, Bo Melton, wide receiver out of Rutgers. And then at 223, they took another wide receiver, Tariq Young, wide receiver out of Lenore Rhyme. No words from you. You know what I did, and I'm just sticking to it. Any thoughts on this draft? That's all I want to hear.
On offense, I like the talent they added on the offensive line. In fact, I love the talent that they added on the offensive line. You spent a premium pick, number 9, on Charles Cross. No brainer. He's sitting there. You don't think twice, especially with the concerns you've had with the offensive line. You take him. Abraham Lucas, I thought, was a great selection in the third round because
amazing.
Should have gone earlier, and they'll be able to provide more protection for whomever starts for them this year than what Russell Wilson got. So Russell Wilson's probably sitting in Denver like, man, I could have had this offensive lineman, and really he couldn't have because that number 9 pick was part of the trade, so he wouldn't have had Charles Cross either way.
But he's got to be like, why didn't y'all try to do that for me?
Exactly, like that's gotta be the mindset. You're taking 2 offensive tackles, one using a premium pick. And speaking of quarterbacks, I was a little bit surprised that Seattle didn't go after a quarterback considering the slide that we saw. So we're thinking quarterback 2 didn't happen until third round. You had 3, 4, and 5 that they could have looked at a quarterback. But that might be my only criticism for this class. And it really shouldn't be that big of a criticism because they're probably waiting for next year's class because they'll have 2 first-round picks, I believe, next year.
I love this draft. They got Charles Cross, one of the best tackles, like you said. The second round, Boye Mafe, a guy who could have been gone in the first round. Now, the Kenneth Walker, the third one, was a little scratchy, but then you realize the 2 guys that they have there right now, and what is it? Carson and Penny.
Rashad Penny, yep.
Their contracts are both up after this year.
And they both battle injuries.
This is true. Then those 2 corners, come on now. Great Seattle picks with those 2 corners. And then, then you get Tariq Smith just to let's see what this guy can do. He's a hustle guy. This guy is going to make that team. And then let's throw some flyers on some wide receivers late. They've done that and they've worked out for them. So I like this draft. I do. I like it quite a bit.
I like the Kenneth Walker selection. I think he's given a nice new toy for Pete Carroll to play with. And I don't think it was too early, and I don't think that there's going to be the problem of having too many running backs in the room because the contracts are up. they're always injured. I mean, more recently, Rashad Penny, Pete Carroll had said he's nursing a slight hamstring issue. Okay, we're in May, and he's already talking about injuries to Rashad Penny. Bad news. I think Bo Melton could end up being the wide receiver 3. I think he could really challenge last year's second rounder D. Eskridge for that number 3 job. He was taken in the 7th round. And then all 4 defensive selections I thought were really good. They needed help at edge. They needed help in the secondary. And that's exactly what they got. Boye Mafe, Tariq Smith, solid. They're going to be able to improve the pass rush this year. And then in the secondary, Kobe Bryant could be a week 1 starter opposite of Sidney Jones, and Tariq Woolen, developmental player with speed, the Seattle type, and he's got the potential to be something really special.
All right, so favorite pick?
I'm going to go with Boye Mafe in the 2nd rounds, just because with the pass rush deficiency they've had for a couple of years, I think he can step in, be an instant starter, make an impact, really help improve that defense, just that position alone.
I'm going to go with Abraham Lucas. Amazing value in the 3rd round. And for once, Seattle taking good players to play on their offensive line. Now they've probably got bookend offensive tackles. It's going to be fun. All right, least favorite, which is hard to do for this draft, in my opinion.
No, for me it was easy.
Really?
It was the very last pick. It was Tariq Young, and it's not because it was the player, it's just because of the pick. After selecting Bo Melton several picks before, Seattle uses another pick on a wide receiver. Why? Yeah,
hey,
this is, I mean,
throw
it's
darts, see what sticks.
But this is the 7th selection in the last 4 drafts that Seattle has used a wide receiver on.
Hey.
I get it. He's a flyer. I get it. But unless you plan on trading one of your current wide receivers, and they just signed Marquise Goodwin,
hey,
I don't get it.
I don't mind it. Practice squad.
But again,
practice squad.
But hey. You're right. It's a 7th round flyer. There's no risk here. But you're asking me what my least favorite was. It's just because I went after wide receiver one more time. I
don't have a really player I don't like. So my least favorite, I'm going to go with Tariq Smith. I mean, they got Boye Mafe. They've got some other players already on the squad. I want to know what Tariq Smith's path to making the team is. I think he can make the team. I think he's a good player, but what is his path here? All right, next up, we're going to the Los Angeles Rams. Anyways, so Los Angeles Rams did not have a 1st or 2nd round pick. Tell the people why.
Because once again, they said F them picks, and they traded him for Matt Stafford.
All right, so Matt Stafford's part of their draft. He worked out. All right, let's see if he works out this year. I mean, he's working out them commercials, I'll say that. So, in the 3rd round, they go Logan Bruss, offensive tackle out of Wisconsin. I'm pretty sure they wanted a different player here, but New England's all like, F your plans, we're taking him in the 1st round.
We're going to take him 70 spots before you.
Next up in the 4th round, they took Jacoby Durant, cornerback out of South Carolina State. Then in the 5th round, they took Kyren Williams, running back out of Notre Dame. Then the 6th round, they took Quentin Lake, safety out of UCLA. And Darian Kendrick, cornerback out of Georgia. Then the 7th round, they took Daniel Hardy, edge out of Montana State. Russ Yeast, safety out of Kansas State, and AJ, good Lord, Akiri, offensive tackle out of Michigan State. Just go to the class, don't say nothing. I'm going to start there. I'm going to start here. What? If you weren't including Matthew Stafford, I have no clue what they did here. All right, Logan Bruss. Maybe he'll be something. Wisconsin offensive linemen normally are. But then they take a flyer on a small school corner who, honestly, I didn't even scout, I'm going to be honest with you. And then Kyren Williams, I would not have taken Kyron Williams before the 7th round. That speed, I get he can block, but what are you going to do? Put him at fullback? That speed is just awful. I know running backs don't need long speed, but that's bad. And then, I mean, Kendricks. I like the Kendricks pick. You tell me.
If you're an average fan, this is not an exciting draft for you. They didn't have a pick in the first round. They didn't have a pick in the first 100 selections. They weren't on the clock until 104. So the amount of talent that's gone by that point leaves a little bit to be desired. And I really had to look at this draft a couple of times to have positive input for it. And I tried really hard. So here we go. Logan Bruss. Good selection to fill in for the offensive line that has lost some talent. Now, he played tackle at Wisconsin. I don't think he's going to play tackle with the Rams. I think he's going to move inside. But he could be a starter at some point this season, probably sooner than later. In the 4th round, you have Jacoby Durant, who I thought was a slight reach, but you have a need in the secondary, and he should be able to contribute right away, at least in nickel packages. So he'll get some time on the field. 5th round, you have Kyron Williams. Now, the Rams had to package a 7th rounder to move up 11 selections to get him. And there are concerns about the speed, but I think the Rams drafted him to be more of a 3rd down running back because he's got good hands and he has good pass protection. I don't see him in a fullback role. I see him as a 3rd down specialist. I'm trying to be positive here.
Again.
And then with the picks after that, you're looking to add depth, especially in the secondary, which is where they spent a total of 4 selections. Carnell Lake, he's a legacy from, or Quentin Lake, legacy from Carnell Lake, adding depth to safeties, which is probably something that they had their eye on, considering they had to bring Eric Weddle out of retirement for their playoff run. So that was a need for depth. Darian Kendrick, he's got the talent, he's got the tools. Can he put it all together? And then 3 7th round picks, I don't got anything for him.
All right.
Sorry.
So my least favorite pick. Can you guess?
We're going least favorite?
Oh no, I'll go my favorite, which I've already mentioned. Darian Kendrick. I like the pick. I like the player. Good value in the round. That's all I got for you.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to go with Darian Kendrick. Low risk, high reward. Did he fall due to poor testing? Probably. Does he come with some character stuff? I think so. Is this an ideal situation to have those issues? Not really, but is it worth the risk for a player like his potential talent level in the 6th round?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's the worst case scenario? He doesn't make the roster.
He gets
Great.
knocked out by Jalen Ramsey.
You spent your 2nd 6th round pick on him. There's not a lot of risk there.
Like they care about picks. My least favorite is Kyron Williams. I'm sorry. Meh. That's what I got for you. Meh.
I feel more optimistic about Kyron Williams.
You go ahead.
But I'm not poo-pooing that because for a minute there he was on my least favorite pick. But looking back at it, I'm going to have to go with Russ Yeast in the 7th round. Now, I hate using 7th rounders because they're really just flyers, and it's not the player. And it's really hard to say that you don't like the 10th to last pick in the entire draft. But I was surprised they went safety again. Why couldn't they draft a linebacker or an edge? Because I think at this point, Jesse Luketa was still on the board from Penn State, who can be an edge, who can be a linebacker, and you have that need. Yeah, I get it. You drafted Daniel Hardy earlier in the 7th round, but edge, it's a position that they're going to need help with. I'm just surprised they went with a 2nd safety, a 4th member of their secondary in this draft. All
right, so next up we have San Francisco. and they did not have a first round pick because of the Trey Lance trade. Maybe he'll see the field sometime. So they start the draft with their second round pick at 61, Drake Jackson, edge out of USC. Then in the third round at 93, they take Tyron Davis-Price, running back out of LSU. Then at 105 in the third round, they take Danny Gray, wide receiver out of SMU. Fourth round, they get Spencer Burford out of offensive guard out of Texas San Antonio. Fifth round, they get Samuel Womack, cornerback out of Toledo. The movie The Rock helped me out with that one. In the sixth round, at 187, they take Nick. What is that? I can't.
Just say it with confidence. Just say it with confidence. From Fordham.
Offensive tackle from Fordham. Yeah, there was no doing it. Then at 220 in the sixth round, it's Kalia Davis, defensive tackle out of UCF. Then at 221, it's Tyreek Castro Fields, cornerback out of Penn State. And seventh round at 262, Brock Purdy, QB out of Iowa.
Mr. Irrelevant, yeah.
What is that? What is it? Zakelj? 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 Is that Nick Zakelj out of Fordham? I don't know.
Sure.
I'm still trying to say that damn name. All right, let me know what you think about this draft.
All right. So, I thought that San Francisco made an effort to attack the trenches. San Francisco likes to draft defensive line, and they're more incapable than for coaching them up. So, that's good for Drake Jackson. I think San Francisco is a good spot for him. He could end up being a long-term complement to Nick Bosa on the defensive line, which is something that they've been lacking for many years. I'm saying he could be. I'm trying to be positive, all right?
Yeah, you and your positivity.
Could be. You already know that I don't feel very optimistic about the
Kofi
NFC
Kingston,
West
come
draft.
On now.
They added a run-stuffing defensive tackle in Kalia Davis in the sixth round, who is at worst a developmental player, and they don't need him to contribute right away. So they got some defensive line. Offensive line, I like the addition of Spencer Burford. He's got the versatility to play multiple positions. I mean, you're thinking they just lost Laken Tomlinson. Trent Williams is not getting any younger. And I believe Mike McGlinchey's contract is going to be up after this season. So,
and Trent Williams cheats.
So if Burford's not starting this season, then I expect him to have a starting job next season. And the other offensive lineman they drafted from Fordham is going to be a depth piece, maybe a practice squad. Not at all. He's got no pressure to start or even contribute this season. He can just watch and learn. They added a few offensive skill players, another running back to the roster in Ty Davis-Price, which I thought was a reach. And after that, they made the selection of Danny Gray. Now, I like the selection of Danny Gray. The guy is a speedster. He's going to take the top off the defense. He's going to help keep the safeties honest. So I thought that was good. San Francisco went on to double dip the cornerback position with Samuel Womack in the fifth and Tariq Castro Fields later in the sixth. I like Castro Fields. I like that pick because he's shown the tools and the potential to be successful. He just needs to be coached up. And I think that's something you can receive with San Francisco. Samuel Womack, he was nowhere near my draft radar. So him going in the fifth round means I'm either doing something right or I'm doing something very, very wrong. But one thing is true. Depth at the secondary is very important. San Francisco probably fears what happened to Baltimore last season. And then you have Mr. Irrelevant. You have Brock Purdy. If San Francisco trades Jimmy Garoppolo, then he could be a decent pick. He could end up adding depth to the quarterback room. If Jimmy Garoppolo stays, then I don't want to say that you wasted a pick, because can you really waste a 7th round pick? But you could have gotten Brock Purdy as an undrafted free agent, and you could have selected somebody else in the 7th rounds.
San Francisco really had their scouts picking going with particular players here. Drake Jackson, we'll see, but he's more of a tweener. What's he playing? He's playing edge?
I think he's working on putting on some weight, play some edge.
Oh, is that what he's doing? So he's going to slow up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You already know my opinion there. I'm going to skip over pick number 93. I do like the Danny Gray pick. I do like the Spencer Burford pick. We'll see what these players that are not well known do, if San Francisco can develop them like they want to. Let's just jump into favorite and least. What's your favorite pick?
You're not gonna like it, but I'm gonna go with Drake Jackson, because I really think that he could be the long-term opposite of solution, opposite of Nick Bosa.
We'll see what happens.
They've been waiting. He's big, he's athletic. Go ahead, double team Nick Bosa.
Inconsistent.
Who's gonna be blocking Drake Jackson?
I'm going with Danny Gray. I really like his fitness offense, and if they need to start developing other receivers, just in case certain receivers tend to decide to walk when come time to walk, or try to force their way out, they need some other guys to be ready to play. Least
Ty Davis Price in the 3rd round.
Yeah, no crap.
Why are they using yet another selection on the running back position? And this one is a premium spot. You're thinking 3rd round.
Last year was a premium. 3rd round. Last year was 2nd round.
No, last year they traded up for Trey Sermon, but Trey Sermon was still 3rd round. But they also took Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round.
It makes no sense.
I'm not sure if they're sending a message to Deebo Samuel or Trey Sermon, or maybe both. But a fun fact is Trey Lance had more rushing yards than Trey Sermon did last year.
Whacked.
It was 168 to 167, so it was one single yard, but still, he had more rushing yards.
All right. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals, and they also did not have a 1st round pick. Tell the people why they didn't have a 1st round pick, Cat Daddy.
Because they decided in wake of the DeAndre Hopkins, well, not in the wake, but in the expectation of DeAndre Hopkins suspension, that they were going to trade their 1st round pick to Baltimore for Marquise Hollywood Brown and a 3rd round selection.
Hollywood's work. Oh, never mind. I'm not even going to get into that part.
That's Hollywood plus a 3rd.
Sure. So then the 2nd round, they picked Trey McBride, tight end out of Colorado State. Then in the 3rd round, they get edge Cameron Thomas out of San Diego State. Their next 3rd round pick is Majay Sanders, edge out of Cincinnati. Then they jump all the way to the 6th round, and they take running back Keontae Ingram out of USC. And then at pick 215, they take Lectus Smith, offensive guard out of Virginia Tech. In the 7th round, they take Christian Matthew, DB out of Valdosta State. Then in 265, they take Jesse Lukita, linebacker out of Penn State. And at 257, they take Marquise Hayes, offensive guard out of Oklahoma. Okay. I like some players in this draft, but I have no clue what these fools are doing. So they take a tight end when they already have their starting tight ends already set. That's your first pick. You have no other needs. So, all right, cool. All right, cool. Cool. You take Trey McBride. All right, he'll work out. So then you double dip at edge in the third round. What? Huh? Oh, okay. I deal with that. All right, the running back in the 6th round, that's fair. Offensive guard in the 6th round. What is your path to make this team? The 7th round. I like Jesse Lukita. That's a great value pick. Do you even know where Valdosta State or Valdosta State is? I can't even
I'd have to look that one up. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more optimistic about this draft than you were. I'm going to try. Okay.
Sure.
Now, coming into this draft, we knew that the Cardinals had a need at edge because you have Chandler Jones, who just left. You have J.J. Watt, who can't stay healthy. You have a need in the secondary. You have a slight need at running back because you allowed Chase Edmonds to leave. And there's a slight need at wide receiver because Christian Kirk walked and got the bag. And then you're looking at a suspension for DeAndre Hopkins. Now, the latter led to trading your first round selection, your number 23 pick.
For Marquise Brown.
And a third round selection.
For Marquise Brown.
This will reunite Marquise Brown and Kyler Murray, who played at Oklahoma together. Cool. For me, the debate for the next few years is going to come down to this. Was Marquise Brown worth it, or
nope,
would the Cardinals have preferred to stay put and select someone like Kyer Elam for the secondary, or even Tyler Linderbaum, who is still available at that point? So for me, this could be something that we take a look at as years go by. Now, the first selection was Trey McBride, and I love me some Trey McBride. He's a fantastic player. But you already have 2 tight ends that you just signed or re-signed on your roster. So you follow that up with double dipping at the edge position. You have Cameron Thomas, you have Najee Sanders. I liked them both. I thought they were both really good picks because Arizona lost Chandler Jones, and you cannot rely on J.J. Watt to play a full 17 games. You can't even rely on him to play 16 games. He's not going to play a full season. He might give you half, 2/3 of a season. But anything more than that is just gravy at that point. So I think getting young talented edge talents is a good idea because this draft was good for the edge talent. So I don't mind those picks. The remaining 5 selections didn't occur until later in day 3, and they selected Keontae Ingram, 6th round, who has a pass catching ability to fill in that Chase Edmonds role, kind of take on some third down work. You have 2 offensive linemen, so you're adding depth to the offensive line. I think one of my criticisms might be they should have attacked offensive line much sooner than late on day 3, but it's not like they had many picks before that to work with. And then you have Jesse Luketa and Marquise Hayes. Now, I think that they were both really good value picks, and there's no pressure for them to contribute right away. They're good depth selections.
All right. My favorite pick, Cameron Thomas. I think that was one of their best value picks. I thought about Jesse Luketa because I love him as a player, but Cameron Thomas is going to make an impact on this team right away.
My favorite pick is also an edge, but I'm going the other edge. I'm going to Najee Sanders because you know that he's going to get into the rotation. He's going to get to that pass rush rotation, and he could find himself starting at some point this season, depending on the health of other individuals.
My least favorite pick is Trey McBride. Not because I don't like the player, just because I don't get it. I just don't get why they're picking a tight end one with their first available pick, and how his path to getting significant playing time.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I like the player. I like Trey McBride. I do not like the initial fit with the Arizona Cardinals because they already had Zach Ertz and Max Williams returning from injury. Then you add McBride. When does he play? Where does he play? Who becomes the odd man out? Do you just start running the 13 package while DeAndre Hopkins is out? I don't know, but they should be pretty dangerous near the goal line if they get there.
All right. Time to start ranking them, and I will go first.
All right.
All right, we're going to go with my number one team, and it's going to be the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, we're going number one first? Okay.
Yeah, number one first. And I really like their draft. I liked what they did. They're the only team out of this division that I think picked good players.
Yeah, you and I were discussing a little bit before we even started this segment that I am not a terribly big fan of this NFC West draft. But for me, Seattle is number one. I'm fine with Seattle passing on the quarterbacks as they fell in this draft because there's going to be a lot more talent with next year, and they have 2 first-round selections. They've beefed up the offensive line, edge, secondary, all big areas of need, and they're not going to contend this year anyways. Just start a rebuild, whether you want to call it a rebuild or not.
All right.
I think that's a good start.
Second, which is difficult.
Yeah.
I should give the Rams more credit for Matthew Stafford, but I'm not. So I'm just going to go with the team that I thought picked the best players, which was sadly the Arizona Cardinals. That is my second team, just by. Yeah, I'm going to let you go.
Yeah. Yep, it was hard choosing after number one because Seattle had the best picks. And my number two is going to be the Los Angeles Rams because they didn't have any selection until 104. So the amount of talent available was much less. But the big question is, how long can they sustain the success based off of the F them picks mentality? The cap exists and you cannot outrun it forever. There's only so far that you can kick the can down the road before it comes back and it bites you. But they end up as a number 2 class in the NFC West for me because we're going to include Matthew Stafford as part of this draft haul, and guess what? That also includes his Super Bowl victory.
All right. No, not for me. It cannot include in this for the Super Bowl victory in terms of we have to keep it in present day. But anyways, I guess. But Matthew Stafford and those Los Angeles Rams are third on my list. Here's my thing. I was going to do it, but I hate their picks. I like 2 of their picks total and only 1 really. So,
Yeah, the more I look at the Rams, the more that they're just getting players to fill specific spots or specific needs, mostly depth. But I digress. Number 3 for me is the Arizona Cardinals. While they made some pretty good selections late on day 2 and late on day 3, it's not enough to overcome the decision to trade a first rounder for Marquise Brown.
I know.
And a third rounder, and then you use the number 55 overall selection on a tight end when you already re-signed 2 tight ends on your roster. Plus, I'm really surprised they waited until the 7th round to add to their secondary. Apparently, they have a lot of confidence in the secondary, but I don't.
Marco Wilson.
Throw that shoe.
All right, let's get to it. Lastly, and
certainly least,
the San Francisco 49ers. Who do they pick?
I mean, even if you include Trey Lance as part of this class, because they traded draft capital to move up for Trey Lance, it still doesn't say a whole lot because you still got Jimmy Garoppolo, who's going to be the assumed starter as long as he's on the roster.
Is he, though?
The debate will commence shortly. And it really bothers me they went running back in round 3.
A lot of this draft bothers me. All right, moving on. Let's do the hierarchy. And the hierarchy of this division. Number 1, we both agree, is the Rams, the Super Bowl champs.
After this draft, yeah, it's got to be the Rams.
All right, number 2, Niners?
Yep, San Francisco still number 2 just because of the core they already have put together.
And then Arizona.
Yeah. And then Seattle rounds out the basement.
Seattle rounds it out, yeah. Meh.
It wasn't the most exciting.
All right. Next up, we have. Well, that's all she wrote for this one.
Yeah, that's it for this one.
Tune in to the next one.
It'll be more exciting.